For the 5th time, they forgot to invite me to Christmas dinner, so I packed my suitcase and went to my cabin in the mountains, alone, in peace. 1 week later, they showed up at my door with luggage and everything, thinking they could still walk in whenever they wanted, just like they always had. But when the door opened, they found a police officer, cameras rolling, and my lawyer waiting for them. In that instant, they turned pale. I know what you are thinking. How did I get here? How did a 67-year-old woman, a grandmother, a widow, end up facing her own children with the law? Let me tell you from the beginning. It was December 24th, 6 in the evening. I was in my kitchen wearing my apron, making hot apple cider. The smell of cinnamon filled the whole house. I had bought 20 pounds of roast beef, fresh rolls from Mrs. Baker's bakery, and I even ordered a stuffed turkey because Michael, my oldest son, always said it reminded him of his dad. The table was set, white plates with gold rims, the linen napkins I inherited from my mother. I even laid out the hand-embroidered tablecloth I only use for special occasions. I waited. 7 o'clock passed, then 8. My phone vibrated. A message from my neighbor, Stella. Emily, I saw they uploaded photos on Facebook. They are all having dinner at Michael's house. My heart shrank. I opened the app with trembling hands, and there they were. Michael, his wife Linda, my 2 grandkids, my youngest son Daniel, and his partner, all smiling in front of a table full of food, glasses raised, laughter, hugs, without me, again. It was not the first time. It was the 5th. 5 Christmases in a row where they forgot to tell me. 5 times where I ended up alone, surrounded by food that no one would come to eat. I sat at the empty table. I turned off the tree lights, and I cried in silence, just as I had learned to cry in these 8 years since I became a widow. But in the middle of those tears, something changed. I wiped my face. I stood up, and I walked to my bedroom with firm steps. I pulled a suitcase out of the closet, an old brown leather suitcase my husband used when he traveled for business. It still smelled like his cologne. I started packing. Clothes, medicine, documents, and a green velvet box I kept at the bottom of the wardrobe. A box that no one knew existed. A box full of papers that told the truth about everything. At 11 at night, I locked the door to my house. I got into my car, and I drove 3 hours to the cabin in the mountains. That cabin I inherited from my husband. That cabin my children always despised because it was too far and had no Wi-Fi. That cabin that was worth nothing to them, but to me, it was my refuge. I arrived at dawn. The cold mountain air hit my face. The stars shone like they never do in the city. Everything was silent. For the first time in years, I breathed easily. I went in. I lit the fireplace. I made myself some chamomile tea, and I sat in front of the fire with the green box on my lap. I opened the lid slowly. Inside were the loans Michael never paid back, $40,000 for a business that never existed, $20,000 Linda borrowed for urgent debts that I later discovered were for online gambling, $60,000 Daniel needed for the down payment on his apartment, but that he used to go on a trip to Europe with his partner. The deeds to my properties were also there, the original will, and something else. Copies of messages and emails where they planned to declare me incompetent to keep everything, because I was not stupid. I never was. I had just been too much of a mother. But that night, in front of the fire, I made a decision. No more. I took out my phone. I dialed a number I had saved for months. "Mr. Davis," I said when he answered, "this is Emily Parker. I need you to come see me tomorrow morning. I am going to press charges against my children." There was silence on the other end. "Are you sure, ma'am?" More sure than ever in my life. I hung up. I closed the box. And for the first time in a long time, I slept deeply. Because I knew that when my children finally noticed my absence, when they came looking for me with their excuses and manipulations, I would be waiting for them, but not alone. And what happened a week later changed everything forever. If you want to know how this story took a turn no one expected, subscribe to the channel Elderly Stories, because what is coming will leave you speechless. Attorney Davis arrived at the cabin the next day, early. He was a man of about 50, serious, with a worn leather briefcase and a look that inspired confidence. We sat in front of the fireplace. I served him pot coffee I had made in the morning. The steam rose between us while I opened the green box. "Mr. Davis," I began, with a firm voice, "I need you to see this." I took out the documents one by one, signed promissory notes, transfer receipts, text messages, emails, everything organized by date, everything marked with notes in the margins that I had written myself. He reviewed every paper in silence. From time to time, he looked up at me, surprised. "Mrs. Parker," he said finally, "you have documented all of this with impressive precision. I have been keeping evidence for years, Mr. Davis, years hoping things would change. But I cannot go on like this anymore." I told him everything. How after my husband died 8 years ago, my children started seeing me differently. I was no longer mom. I was a wallet, a family bank that never charged interest. Michael appeared first. "Mom, I have an incredible business opportunity. I just need $40,000. I will pay you back in 6 months. 6 months turned into 8 years. I never saw a dollar back." Then it was Linda, his wife. She would arrive with red eyes, dramatizing crises that I later discovered were lies. "Mother-in-law, we have a terrible debt. If we do not pay, they will foreclose on the house." I gave her $20,000. The house was never at risk, but her addiction to online casinos was very real. Daniel, my youngest son, the one I thought was different, also failed me. "Mom, I found the perfect apartment. I just need the down payment." I transferred $60,000 to him. A week later, I saw photos on his social media from Paris, London, Rome. He did not even bother to invent an excuse. "But that is not all, Mr. Davis." I continued taking out another folder. 3 months ago, they tried to forge my signature. I showed him copies of notary documents, papers where I supposedly authorized the sale of a piece of land my husband left me, a lot valued at $450,000. The signature looked like mine, but I never signed those papers. "This is attempted fraud," said the lawyer, standing up. "Mrs. Parker, with this, we can proceed legally immediately." "Wait," I stopped him. "There is more." I took out my phone. I opened a recording app. I put the audio on speaker. It was a conversation between Michael and Linda. I had recorded them without them knowing during a family lunch 2 months ago when I got up to go to the bathroom and left my phone recording hidden under a cushion. Michael's voice sounded clear. "We need to act fast. My mom is already old. If we can get a doctor to certify that she is not right in the head, we can take control of everything," Linda's voice responded. "Your brother already talked to a lawyer. He says with 2 witnesses and a medical certificate, we can declare her incompetent. Everything would go into a trust, managed by us." Michael laughed. "Poor Mom. Always so trusting, so sentimental. She does not know this is about business, not family." The silence in the cabin was heavy when the recording ended. Mr. Davis looked at me with a mixture of indignation and respect. "Mrs. Parker," he said slowly, "you not only have evidence, you have a solid case. Very solid." I nodded. I felt the tears wanting to come out, but I held them back. I had already cried enough. "I want you to prepare everything, Mr. Davis. Lawsuit for fraud, for financial abuse, and I want you to install security cameras in this cabin. Good cameras. With audio? You expect them to come here? I know them. When they realize I disappeared, they are going to panic. Not for me, but because they need me to sign those papers to sell the land. And when they find out where I am, they will come, without warning, as they always have." The lawyer smiled for the first time. "And you will be prepared." "Exactly." We spent the rest of the day organizing everything. He made calls. He contacted a judge he knew. He spoke with a security technician who arrived that same afternoon to install the cameras. While they worked, I walked through the cabin grounds. The pine forest smelled of damp earth. The birds were singing. The peace I felt was something I had not experienced in years. My husband loved this place. He always said, "Emily, when I can no longer handle the noise of the city, we will retire here. You and I." Quiet. We never got to retire together. A heart attack took him before his time. But now I was here, fulfilling that dream, even if I was alone. "Ma'am," the lawyer called me from the door. "All set. The cameras are working. They record automatically when they detect movement." Perfect. That night, when everyone left, I sat on the porch of the cabin with a blanket over my shoulders. My phone started ringing. Michael, Daniel, Linda, messages, calls. I read them all. I did not answer any of them. "Mom, where are you? We need to talk urgently. There are some papers you must sign." I smiled in the dark. Let them wait. Let them search. Because when they finally found me, I was not going to be the same mom as always. The messages did not stop all week. Every morning I woke up with the phone vibrating. 20, 30, 40 notifications, all from them, all with the same tone. First fake concern, then barely disguised demands. "Mom, we are worried. Are you okay? Answer, please. You have us anxious. It has been 3 days. This is not normal. We are going to go to your house." I read each one while drinking my coffee sitting on the cabin porch, and I did not answer. Mr. Davis had advised me, leave them in uncertainty. Let them get desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. And he was right. On the 4th day, the messages changed tone. Michael wrote, "Mom, we need you to come. There are urgent documents for the land. The buyer only waits until the end of the month. If we do not sign, we lose the sale and the $450,000. There it was. The real reason for their concern. Linda was more direct. "Mother-in-law, I do not know what is wrong with you, but this is very selfish of you. We have serious problems and you disappear like a rebellious teenager. Get over the Christmas dinner thing. It was a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. 5 years in a row of misunderstandings." Daniel tried the sensitive son card. "Mom, if you are upset, let's talk. But disappearing like this solves nothing. We are family. Family does not abandon each other. The irony hurt me. Family does not abandon each other. And what had they done to me?" But I did not answer. I followed my routine in the cabin. In the mornings, I walked through the forest. The cold air cleared my mind. I watched the pines, listened to the river running nearby, collected dry pine cones for the fireplace. In the afternoons, I reviewed my documents over and over again, verifying dates, amounts, details, preparing myself. Attorney Davis came on the 5th day with news. "Mrs. Parker, I hired a private investigator. I asked him to review your daughter-in-law Linda's finances." He took out a folder. Inside were bank statements, screenshots, transaction records. "Your daughter-in-law has active debts on 3 online casino platforms. The total is nearly $100,000. She has been borrowing from loan sharks, dangerous people." I felt a weight in my stomach, not for her, but for my grandkids. 2 teenagers living in that house, with that pressure, with those problems. "There is more," the lawyer continued. "Your son Daniel also has financial problems. He owes back rent, 3 months without paying. The landlord has already started the eviction process. And Michael? Michael is the most calculating. He does not have serious personal debts, but he does need that money from the land. He invested in an import business that is going bankrupt. If he does not inject capital soon, he loses everything. Then it all made sense. They did not need me. They needed my money, my properties, my signature. And the attempted fraud? I asked. I already filed the formal complaint. The notary who authorized those fake documents is being investigated. Your son Michael will be summoned to testify next week. I nodded. The pieces of the puzzle fit perfectly. That night, while the fire crackled in the fireplace, I took out old photographs from a box, photos of when my children were little. Michael in his elementary school uniform, smiling without teeth. Daniel on my lap, hugging me with those chubby little arms. When was everything lost? At what moment did I stop being their mother to become their resource? A tear fell on a photograph. I wiped it carefully. I missed those children. But those children no longer existed. On the 7th day, I received a different message. It was from my oldest grandson, Sam, 16 years old. "Grandma, Dad is furious. He says if you do not appear, they are going to go look for you. Please let us know you are okay. I miss you." My heart shrank. He was not to blame for anything. For the first time in the week, I answered a message. But not to Michael, not to Daniel, not to Linda, to Sam. "I am fine, sweetheart. I just needed time for myself. I love you very much." His response was immediate. "When are you coming back?" "Soon, but when I come back, things are going to be different." He did not understand what I meant, but he would. Soon, everyone would understand. That same night, Michael wrote the message I was waiting for. "I know where you are, Mom. We are going there tomorrow. Everyone. We need to talk in person. And you are going to sign those papers." The drama is over. I read the message 3 times. I walked to the window. The security cameras blinked with their little red lights in the dark. Everything was recording. I dialed Mr. Davis. "They are coming," I told him simply. "Are you ready?" I looked at my reflection in the window glass. A 67-year-old woman, tired, hurt, but standing, more than ready, and tomorrow everything was going to explode. The morning of the 8th day dawned cold and cloudy. I got up early. I made coffee. I dressed carefully. A burgundy wool sweater, dark trousers, my hair pulled back in a simple bun. I wanted to look dignified, strong. Mr. Davis arrived at 9 with 2 more people. Officer Miller, a detective of about 40 with a serious look, and a young woman with a professional camera. "Mrs. Parker," Officer Miller greeted me. The lawyer briefed me on the situation. "I will be present as an official witness. Everything that happens will be recorded." "Thank you, officer." "Ms. Evans," he pointed to the young woman, "will document everything on video. It is protocol in these cases." I nodded. My heart beat fast, but my mind was clear. We reviewed the plan one more time. The exterior cameras were already recording. The professional camera would capture everything from inside. The officer would remain visible from the start. No surprises, everything legal, everything documented. "What time did he say they would arrive?" asked the lawyer. "Michael wrote that they would leave early. From the city, it is 3 hours. I estimate between 11 and 12. We waited. I made more coffee. I reviewed the documents one last time. The officer made some calls from the porch. The camera woman adjusted her equipment. At 11:30, we heard the engines. 2 SUVs were coming up the dirt road, one black, one white. I saw how they kicked up dust on their way to the cabin. "They are here," I announced, feeling the adrenaline rush through my body. "Stay calm, ma'am," said the lawyer. "Remember, you have the control. You have the truth." The SUVs parked in front of the cabin. The doors opened. Michael got out first. Tall, 42 years old, with that bearing he always had, as if the world owed him something. He was wearing dark glasses even though the day was cloudy. Behind him, Linda. Perfect makeup, nails freshly done, designer bag hanging from her arm. As always, appearances. From the other SUV, Daniel got out with his partner David. And to my surprise, my 2 grandkids came, Sam and Sarah, 16 and 14 years old. That was not in my plans. I did not want the children to witness this. But it was too late. Michael walked to the door with determined steps. He did not knock. He turned the handle directly as he had done all his life, as if this cabin were his. The door did not open. It was locked. He tried again, harder. Nothing. "Mom!" he shouted, banging on the door. "Open up, we came all the way from the city. What games are these?" The expression on Michael's face went from annoyance to confusion in a second, because he did not find me alone. Officer Miller was by my side, in uniform with his badge visible. The camera woman pointed her equipment directly at them, and Mr. Davis stepped out behind me with a folder full of documents. The silence was absolute. "What is this?" stuttered Michael, taking off his glasses. Linda took a step back. Daniel went pale. The grandkids looked at each other, scared. "This," I said with a firm voice, "is the end of many things. Come in, we have to talk." "Mom, I do not understand anything," said Michael, but his voice no longer sounded authoritative. It sounded nervous. "You are going to understand. Believe me, you are going to understand." Officer Miller introduced himself formally. "Detective Stephen Miller. Your mother requested my presence as a witness in this meeting. Everything will be recorded for the legal protection of both parties." Linda whispered something to Michael. He shook his head. "Mom, this is ridiculous. We are your family. Why are there police? Why cameras? What did they make you believe? No one made me believe anything, Michael. On the contrary." I finally opened my eyes. Daniel tried to approach. "Mom, if you are upset about Christmas, we are sorry, seriously. It was a mistake. But this is too much." "A mistake?" I repeated, feeling the ancient rage rise in my throat. 5 years of mistakes? Or was the mistake trying to forge my signature to sell my land? The silence that followed was like thunder. Michael opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I do not know what you are talking about." "Of course you know. Everyone knows." Mr. Davis stepped forward. "Gentlemen, I have here documentary evidence of attempted fraud, misappropriation, and conspiracy to declare mental incompetence without medical grounds. Do you want to discuss it out here, or do you prefer to come in?" Linda broke first. "Michael, let's go. This is a trap." "No one leaves," said the officer with quiet authority. "Not until the situation is clarified." Sam, my grandson, looked at me with teary eyes. "Grandma, what is happening?" My heart broke, but I could not back down. Something is happening that should have happened a long time ago. My love, the truth. And then began the confrontation that would change everything forever. They entered the cabin in silence, a heavy, uncomfortable silence, full of barely disguised fear. Michael walked in front, trying to maintain his posture of authority, but his hands were trembling. Linda was biting her nails, something I had never seen her do. Daniel did not look up from the floor. The grandkids sat together on the sofa, confused, scared. "Sit down," I ordered, and my voice sounded different, firm, without pleading, without that maternal tone I always used so as not to bother them. Mr. Davis placed his briefcase on the coffee table. He opened it calmly, taking out folders organized by colors. The camera woman adjusted her equipment. Officer Miller stood by the door, arms crossed. "Mom," Michael began, "I do not know what these people told you, but—" "No one told me anything. I investigated all by myself. I documented all by myself. I opened my eyes all by myself." I took out the green velvet box. I placed it on the table with a dry thud that made Linda jump. "Do you know what this is?" I asked, looking at them one by one. No one answered. "It is the truth that you thought I would never discover." I opened the box. I took out the first document. "Michael, October 2017. You asked me for $40,000 for an import business. You told me that in 6 months you would pay me back with interest. You signed this promissory note." I showed him the paper. His signature was there, clear, indisputable. It has been 8 years. I never saw a dollar. "Mom, the business did not work out. I already explained it to you. You explained nothing to me. You disappeared for 2 months, and when you reappeared, you acted like it never happened." I took out another document. "Linda, March 2019. You begged me for $20,000. You said you had a debt with the bank, that they were going to foreclose on the house. You cried. You hugged me. You told me, 'Mother-in-law, you are my salvation.'" Linda went rigid. I hired a private investigator. Do you know what he discovered? I took out the bank statements the lawyer had given me, that there never was a foreclosure, that you spent those $20,000 in online casinos, and that today you owe almost $100,000 to loan sharks. Dangerous people, Linda. So dangerous they are threatening your family. She stood up abruptly. That is a lie. You have no right to investigate me. Sit down, said Officer Miller with a calm but authoritative voice. Linda sat down, trembling. I turned to Daniel, my youngest son, the one who was always more affectionate, the one I thought was different. Daniel, June 2020. You asked me for $60,000 for the down payment on your apartment. You said you were finally going to have a home of your own. I felt so proud. Daniel closed his eyes. A week later, I saw your photos in Europe. Paris, London, Rome, 3 months of travel. Where did that money come from, Daniel? Mom, From where? I had savings. Lie, interrupted Mr. Davis, taking out more papers. Your bank account was at zero. The only large deposit was the transfer from your mother. That money funded your trip, and today you owe 3 months of rent. Your landlord started the eviction process 2 weeks ago. David, Daniel's partner, looked at him with disbelief. Is that true? Daniel did not answer. He just buried his face in his hands. Sam, my grandson, stood up. Grandma, I do not understand. Did Dad steal from you? Sit down, Sam, ordered Michael. No, I want to know what is happening. I knelt in front of my grandson. I took his hands. My love, your parents did not steal from me, but they did lie to me. They used me. And when I had nothing left to give, they tried to take the little I had left. How? I looked at Michael. He avoided my gaze. Mr. Davis, I said, show them the documents. Mr. Davis placed the copies of the notary papers on the table, the papers where I supposedly authorized the sale of the land. This reached the public registry 3 months ago. A request for the sale of the property located in the valley, valued at $450,000, with the signature of Mrs. Emily Parker. He passed the documents to Michael. The problem is that Mrs. Parker never signed this. The signature is fake, a pretty good forgery, but fake. Michael looked at the papers. His face went from pale to red. The notary said it was legal. Notary Smith is being investigated for fraud. He already testified. He said you paid him $15,000 to process this sale without verifying the signer's identity. Linda exploded. This was your idea, Michael. I told you not to do it. Shut up. You are the one who has us buried in debt. It is your fault, because you never earn enough, because your business is a failure. They started shouting at each other, blaming each other, destroying themselves in front of everyone. The grandkids were crying. Daniel still had his head in his hands. David watched everything in shock. I remained seated, calm, watching the facade crumble. Officer Miller clapped his hands twice loudly. Silence. Everyone fell silent. Mrs. Parker, said the officer, do you wish to file formal charges? That was the moment, the decision that would change everything. I looked at my children, at Michael, who now looked like a scared child, at Daniel, who was crying in silence, at Linda, who trembled with rage and fear. I looked at my grandkids, at Sam, looking at me with pleading eyes, at Sarah, who did not understand anything but felt her world crumbling. I took a deep breath. Before answering that, I said slowly, I want you to listen to something. I took out my phone. I opened the recording app. I recorded this 2 months ago at Sunday lunch when I got up to go to the bathroom. I pressed play, and then Michael's voice filled the cabin. We need to act fast. My mom is already old. If we can get a doctor to certify that she is not right in the head, we can take control of everything. And in that moment, I saw their souls break. The audio kept playing. Every word was a knife. Linda's voice sounded clear. Your brother already talked to a lawyer. He says with 2 witnesses and a medical certificate, we can declare her incompetent. everything would go into a trust, managed by us. Michael tried to get up. Mom, turn that off, but I did not turn it off. I let it continue. His own voice continued. Poor Mom, always so trusting, so sentimental. She does not know this is about business, not family. And then the laughter. That laughter that had taken away my sleep for weeks. Sam stood up abruptly, looking at his father with an expression I had never seen. Horror. Absolute disappointment. Dad? Did you say that? Did you really want to declare Grandma crazy? Michael reached out his hands. Son, it is more complicated than... Answer? Yes or no? We were desperate. Your mother has debts. The business is failing. You needed to steal from your mom? Completed Sam, with tears running down his face. Declare her incompetent to keep her money? That is what you needed? Sarah, my granddaughter, cried in silence. She got up from the sofa and ran to me. She hugged me tight. Grandma, sorry. You have nothing to apologize for, my love, I told her, stroking her hair. Daniel finally spoke with a broken voice. Mom, I knew. Michael told me his plan. I tried to convince him not to do it, but I also needed money. I thought if you guys handled the legal part, I would just receive my share of the inheritance early. Before I died, you mean? He lowered his head. Yes. The brutal honesty hurt more than the lies. David, his partner, moved away from him. I cannot believe what I am hearing. Your own mother, Daniel. You do not understand the pressure, shouted Linda suddenly. Living with debts, dealing with threats, we needed that money. Then work, I said simply, like everyone else does. Like I did when your father died and left me with enormous responsibilities. I worked. I did not steal. I did not lie. You have properties. You have money saved. You do not need all that at your age. At my age? I repeated, feeling the indignation rise. At my 67 years, do I no longer deserve to have anything? Do I no longer deserve to decide over what I worked for all my life? Mr. Davis intervened, placing more documents on the table. Here I have the complete records. Mrs. Parker lent you in total $120,000 over 8 years. Not a dollar was paid back. In addition, there is evidence of systematic emotional manipulation. He took out printouts of messages, reading them aloud. Michael, 6 months ago. Mom, if you do not help us, we will lose everything. Do you want your grandkids to end up on the street? Daniel, 4 months ago. Ma, I thought I could count on you. I guess I was wrong. I guess money is more important than your son. Linda, 3 months ago. Mother-in-law, after everything we have done for you, is this how you repay us? With selfishness. Each message was worse than the last. Emotional blackmail, manipulation, manufactured guilt. What did you do for me? I asked Linda directly. Tell me, what did you do? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I opened my house to you. I gave you my money. I watched your children when you needed free time. I cooked for your parties. I kept your secrets. I forgave your forgetfulness. And when I had nothing left to give, when you had squeezed me to the last drop, you wanted to take the only thing I had left, my dignity. My voice broke on the last word, but I did not cry. I had cried enough in my life. Officer Miller checked his watch. Mrs. Parker, I need you to decide. Do you proceed with criminal charges or do we reach a family settlement? Everyone looked at me, waiting, fearing. I looked at Michael. He avoided my eyes. I looked at Daniel. He pleaded with me in silence. I looked at Linda. She hated me. I could see it in her gaze. And I looked at my grandkids, Sam and Sarah, 2 innocent teenagers trapped in their parents' poison. I want to make a proposal, I said finally. Mr. Davis tensed. Ma'am, remember that. I know, Mr. Davis, but I want them to decide. I stood up. I walked to the window. Outside, the pine trees swayed in the wind. Everything was peace out there. Everything was war in here. I have 2 options for you, I began. Option 1. I press formal charges. Michael faces accusations for attempted fraud. Linda, too. Daniel, for complicity. All three can end up with criminal records, possibly jail. I heard sobs behind me. I did not turn around. Option 2. We resolve this as a family, but on my conditions, and they are not negotiable. What conditions? Asked Michael with a weak voice. I turned to face them. First, you pay back every dollar I lent you, the full $120,000. You can do it in monthly payments over 5 years, but you pay it all back. Mom, that is impossible. Do not interrupt me. Second condition, temporary restraining order. 3 years without direct contact except on supervised occasions or real emergencies. I need space. I need to heal. Linda snorted. That is absurd. Third condition, mandatory family therapy. All 3 of you, individual and group, with a psychologist I will choose. You will pay. And what do we gain? Asked Linda sarcastically. I looked at her steadily. You gain not going to jail. You gain that your children do not grow up visiting you behind bars. You gain a chance to learn to be decent human beings. The silence was absolute. Fourth and last condition, I continued, feeling my voice strengthen. You lose any right to my inheritance. Everything I have will go to a foundation I will create for older women, victims of family abuse, and a trust for Sam and Sarah, which they will receive when they turn 25. You cannot do that, shouted Michael. Yes, I can. It is my money, my life, my decision. And then I gave them 60 seconds to choose their destiny. 60 seconds, I repeated, looking at the clock on the wall. Decide now. Officer Miller took out his notebook, ready to take note of the decision. The camera woman kept recording every gesture, every tear, every moment of desperation. Michael looked at Linda. She shook her head, furious. Daniel looked at the floor, hands trembling. This is madness, said Linda. You are blackmailing us. No, I corrected calmly. I am giving you a way out, something you never gave me. But $120,000? Where are we going to get that kind of money? From the same place you thought to get the $450,000 from the land, from work, from effort, from living within your means. 30 seconds, announced Mr. Davis. Sam approached his father. Dad, accept, please. I cannot see you go to jail. Sarah was still hugging me, crying in silence. Michael closed his eyes. His jaw tightened. I could see the internal struggle. Pride against survival. 15 seconds. Okay, shouted Daniel suddenly. I accept everything. I will return the money. I will go to therapy. Whatever is necessary. Just no charges. David looked at him surprised, but there was something of relief on his face. 10 seconds. Michael, whispered Linda, say something. 5 seconds. Michael opened his eyes. He looked directly at me, and for the first time in years, I saw something real in his gaze. Not manipulation, not calculation, genuine fear. I accept, he said with a broken voice. I accept your conditions, Mom. Officer Miller wrote in his notebook. And you, Mrs. Linda Parker? Linda clenched her fists. Her face was red with contained rage. I have no choice, do I? Either I accept or I go to prison. That is the reality, I confirmed. Then I accept. But I want you to know this is cruel. You are cruel. No, Linda. Cruel was what you did to me for 8 years. This is justice. Mr. Davis took pre-drafted documents out of his briefcase. You will have to sign a legal agreement. Everything will be in writing. Any breach will automatically reactivate the criminal charges. He placed 3 sets of papers on the table. Michael was the first to approach. He read quickly. His hands trembled as he turned the pages. This says we are forbidden to approach within 100 yards of you for 3 years. Yes, except for supervised meetings or real medical emergencies. And holidays? Christmas? Birthdays? You will celebrate without me. just like you already were." The blow was direct. Michael lowered his gaze. Daniel signed without reading everything. His tears stained the paper. Linda took the pen with so much force I thought she would break it. She signed every page with rage, violent strokes that almost tore the paper. "Done." She spat the words. "Are you happy now? Did you humiliate us enough?" "I did not humiliate you. You humiliated yourselves with your actions." Mr. Davis collected the signed documents. "Officer, can you certify as a witness?" "Of course." The officer signed too, officially sealing the agreement. Sam was still looking at his father with a devastated expression. "Dad, did you really do all that? Did you really plan to declare her incompetent?" Michael tried to approach his son, but Sam stepped back. "Do not touch me. Right now, I do not want you to touch me. Son, please, you lied to me. For years you told me Grandma was difficult, that she exaggerated. And all this time, it was you. You were the problem." Sarah separated from me and walked to her mother. "Mom, is the casino thing true? Is it true we have debts?" Linda did not answer. She just looked away. "Mom?" "Yes," she admitted finally with a hard voice. "I have problems. But that does not give your grandmother the right to destroy this family. I did not destroy anything," I said firmly. "You had already done that job long before today." Mr. Davis put all the documents in his briefcase. "The first payment must be made on February 1st. It is $2,000 a month for 60 months. The transfer details are in the agreement." "And therapy?" asked Daniel with a weak voice. "I will send you the psychologist's details. The first session must be within 2 weeks. If you miss 3 consecutive sessions, the agreement is broken." Michael ran his hands through his hair, desperate. "How are we going to pay all this? The business is broke. Linda's debts." "That is no longer my problem," I said simply. "You created this disaster. You fix it. But we are your family. Family does not steal. Family does not betray. Family does not plan to destroy its own members." Officer Miller cleared his throat. "Mrs. Parker, is there anything else you need?" "Yes, for them to leave. We are done here." Linda was already walking to the door. "Let's go. I cannot stand another minute in this place." Michael grabbed his jacket. Daniel wiped his tears. But Sam and Sarah stayed still. "Grandma," said Sam with a trembling voice, "are we forbidden to come too?" My heart shrank. Those kids were not to blame for anything. "You can visit me whenever you want, my loves. You are innocent in all of this." "Really?" asked Sarah with hope. "Really? In fact," I looked at the lawyer, "I want the agreement to make it clear that the grandkids can visit me freely, with or without their parents." "It will be so," confirmed Mr. Davis. Sam ran to me and hugged me tight. "Sorry, Grandma. Sorry for not realizing sooner what was happening. You do not have to apologize for anything. You are a good boy." Michael watched the scene from the door with an indecipherable expression. "Sam, Sarah, let's go," he ordered. "In a moment, Dad," answered Sam without letting go of me. And in that moment, Michael understood he had lost something more than money or property. He had lost the respect of his own children. Linda was already in the SUV, honking impatiently, but Michael remained standing in the doorway, immobile, looking at me with an expression I had not seen in years, vulnerability. "Mom," he finally said with a hoarse voice, "I never wanted us to get to this, but we got here. Because of your decisions, because of your lies. I was desperate. The business, I lost so much money. Suppliers cheated me. Imports were delayed. Clients canceled. Everything fell apart in months. And your solution was to rob me? It wasn't going to be robbery. I thought with the money from the land, I could save everything, pay you back what I owed you, start over." "Lie," interrupted Mr. Davis. "The emails we have show you planned to split the money 3 ways. Nothing was destined to pay Mrs. Parker back." Michael closed his eyes. trapped in his own lie. Daniel was still sitting on the sofa, head in hands. David was by the window, arms crossed, processing everything he had heard. "Daniel," I said, looking at my youngest son. "Look at me." He raised his eyes slowly. His eyes were red, swollen. "Why?" "You were the one who always talked about honesty, about values, about being different from your brother. Why did you do the same to me?" "Because I am weak," he admitted with a broken voice. "All my life I have been the little brother, the one living in Michael's shadow. When he told me his plan, I saw a chance to finally have something, to not be the one who always needs help. And you felt strong robbing me? I did not rob you. I was just going to receive my share of the inheritance early. Going to receive your share when I died, you mean? Did you want me to die, Daniel?" "No, of course not, Mom." "Then what did you want? Because you planned to declare me incompetent. That meant locking me up somewhere, taking away my freedom, treating me as if I were already dead while alive." The silence was crushing. David spoke for the first time. "Mrs. Parker, I knew nothing about this, I swear. If I had known, I would have stopped Daniel. I know, David, it shows you are a good person. I wish my son would learn from you." Daniel sobbed louder. Sam and Sarah were still by my side. Sarah took my hand. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Whatever you want, my love. Why did you never say anything? Why did you endure so much?" I took a deep breath. It was a question I had asked myself 1,000 times, because I was afraid of being left alone, afraid that if I confronted them, I would lose them forever. I preferred to endure the pain than to live without family. And now I understand that solitude with dignity is better than company with humiliation. Sarah hugged me tighter. Officer Miller checked his watch. "Folks, it is time to leave. The agreement is signed. The conditions are clear." Michael finally moved toward the door, but before leaving, he turned one last time. "Mom, I know you think I am a monster, but I want you to know that I do love you, in my clumsy, wrong way. But I love you." I looked him in the eyes. "Love is not just words, Michael. Love is actions. And your actions showed me the exact opposite." He shuddered as if I had hit him. "The 3 years of separation will give you time to think about that, time to understand the difference between wanting and truly loving." Michael nodded slowly and left. Daniel got up from the sofa, trembling. "Mom, I'm going to comply. I swear I'm going to pay everything. I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to change. I hope so. For your sake. For the sake of David, who loves you despite your mistakes." David approached and gave me a hug. "Thank you for not destroying him completely. I will help him be better. I know you will." Daniel and David left together. Only Linda remained in the SUV, furious, honking nonstop. Sam sighed. "We have to go. Mom is losing it." "I know. Go. But remember, this door is always open for you." "Can we come next weekend?" asked Sarah. "Of course. I will make your favorite pancakes." The two hugged me one last time and ran to the SUV. The two SUVs started up. I watched them disappear down the dirt road, kicking up dust in their wake. When the sound of the engines faded completely, I remained standing on the porch, breathing the fresh mountain air. Mr. Davis approached my side. "Mrs. Parker, you were very brave today." "I did not feel brave. I felt destroyed. But you did it, and that is what matters." Officer Miller put away his notebook. "Ma'am, if at any moment they breach the agreement, do not hesitate to call me. Here is my card. Thank you, officer, for everything. Just doing my job. But between us, it gives me pleasure when an older person reclaims their dignity. It does not happen as often as it should." They both said goodbye and left in their patrol car. The camera woman packed her gear. "Ma'am, do you want me to leave you a copy of the recording?" "Yes, please, on a USB drive." "Sure, I will send it tomorrow with the lawyer." She left too. I was left alone in the cabin. I walked in slowly. I locked the door. I walked to the sofa and let myself fall. My whole body was shaking. The adrenaline of the last hours finally abandoned me. And then, finally, I cried. I cried for the family I had lost. I cried for the years of abuse I endured in silence. I cried for the woman I was, always giving, always forgiving, always forgetting herself. But I also cried with relief, because for the first time in 8 years, I breathed free. I got up after a while. I washed my face with cold water. I made myself some chamomile tea and sat in front of the fireplace with the green box on my lap. There was one last document I had not shown them. I took it out carefully. It was the new will, the one I had signed the week before with Mr. Davis. I read it one more time, making sure everything was as I wanted. The Foundation for Older Women Victims of Family Abuse would receive 60% of my estate. The Trust for Sam and Sarah would receive 35%, and the remaining 5% would be for David, for being the only good person who entered this family in years. Michael, Daniel, and Linda. Nothing. Zero. Because love is demonstrated. And they demonstrated that they never really loved me. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of silence, of peace, of waking up without knots in my stomach. I stayed in the cabin enjoying the sound of the wind in the pines, the crackling of the fire at night, the taste of coffee drunk without haste. Sam and Sarah came the first weekend, as promised. They arrived by bus, alone, without their parents. We cooked together. We walked through the forest. We talked about everything and nothing. I told them stories of when their grandfather was alive, of when their dad and uncle were good boys, before money changed their hearts. "Grandma," Sam asked me while we were chopping vegetables for dinner, "do you think Dad can change?" "I want to believe it," I answered honestly. "But real change only comes when one hits rock bottom. And I am not sure your dad has hit rock bottom yet. Mom is worse," said Sarah in a low voice. "She screams all the time. She blames Dad. Dad blames her. The house is hell. It hurt to hear it. But it was not my responsibility to fix it." "Do you know anything about Uncle Daniel?" I asked. "I talked to him a few days ago," said Sam. "He sounds different, more serious. He said he started looking for a second job to pay faster. I am glad to hear that." The following Monday, I received a call from Mr. Davis. "Mrs. Parker, I have news. Daniel made his first payment, $2,000 complete, 2 weeks before the deadline." I felt something warm in my chest, surprise, hope, and Michael. There was a pause. "Michael has not transferred anything, but there are 2 weeks left. I understand. Also, Michael's wife, Linda, tried to contact me. She wants to renegotiate the terms of the agreement. Renegotiate. She says they are very harsh, that they cannot comply, that we should consider forgiving 50%. I laughed. It was a bitter laugh, but a laugh nonetheless. "Tell her there is no renegotiation. The agreement is signed. Either they comply or face charges. It is that simple. I will tell her that." I hung up and stared out the window. Linda had learned nothing. She was still looking for shortcuts, easy exits, ways to avoid consequences. But Daniel paid. That night, I lit a candle in the small chapel my husband had built by the cabin. I prayed for my children, for their lost souls, for the possibility of redemption. The next morning, while baking cinnamon rolls, I heard a car approach. My heart raced. The cameras were still working. If it was Michael violating the agreement, it would be recorded. But when I looked out the window, I saw an unknown car, a gray sedan, old but well kept. The door opened and Daniel got out. Alone. He walked to the door and knocked softly. I hesitated a moment. Then I opened. "Mom," he said with a trembling voice, "I know I should not be here. I know the agreement says 3 years without contact, but I need to tell you something. You have 5 minutes." He nodded. He did not come in. He stayed on the porch as if he did not deserve to enter. I paid my first installment, and I am going to pay all the others. I got a night job at a warehouse. By day, I stay at my regular job. I sleep little, but I deserve it. I am glad to hear it. I also started therapy. The psychologist asked me when I stopped being myself, and I did not know how to answer because I do not remember ever being myself. His eyes filled with tears. I was always the little brother, the one who lived comparing himself, the one who was never enough. And when Michael offered me a way to be someone, I took it without thinking, no matter who I hurt. You hurt me, Daniel. I know, and I am going to carry that the rest of my life. He wiped his tears with the back of his hand. But I came to tell you something more important, something you need to know. What is it? Linda is planning something. I heard a phone conversation 3 days ago. She was talking to someone about challenging the agreement and getting witnesses to declare that you were under duress. I felt a chill. Witnesses. People she is going to pay to lie. She says if she can prove you signed the agreement under coercion, they can annul it. That is illegal. I know. That is why I came. Because you gave me a chance to redeem myself, and I am not going to let Linda destroy you again. I looked him in the eyes. My son, my baby, the boy I rocked in my arms 40 years ago. Does Michael know about this? I do not know. I stopped talking to him. He is consumed by rage. He blames everyone but himself. I took a deep breath. Thank you for warning me, Daniel. Are you going to do something? I am going to call the lawyer. He will know how to proceed. Daniel nodded. He was leaving when I stopped him. Daniel, wait. He turned around. Is David okay? Is he supporting you? A small smile appeared on his tired face. David is the best thing that happened in my life. He puts up with me. He pushes me to be better. I do not deserve his love, but I am fighting to deserve it someday. Then fight. For yourself, for him, for the man you can become. I will, Mom, I promise. He left. I immediately called Mr. Davis. I told him everything. This is serious, he said. If Linda tries to fabricate false testimony, we could accuse her of obstruction of justice. But we need proof. What kind of proof? Recordings, messages, something that demonstrates her plan. I thought quickly. Mr. Davis, what if we record her confessing? How? Let me think about it. I will call you in a few hours. I hung up. I walked around the cabin thinking. Linda was impulsive, arrogant. If she thought she could manipulate the situation, she would try. I took my phone and called Sam. Grandma, everything okay? Yes, my love. I need to ask you a favor. It is important. Whatever you need. Does your mom still use her phone for all her important calls? Yes, all the time. Why? Because I need you to help me get something. And I know what I am going to ask is difficult, but... Grandma, Sam interrupted me with a firm voice. If it is to protect you from Mom, I will do it. Mom is out of control. Even Sarah is scared of her. Is it that bad? Worse. Yesterday, she broke plates because Dad refused to ask you to cancel the agreement. She screamed that you had poisoned us against her. My heart shrank. Okay, this is what I need. I explained the plan. It was risky, but necessary, because Linda was about to learn that I was no longer the naive mother-in-law she could manipulate. I was a woman who had woken up, and this time I would arrive first. The plan was simple, but required perfect timing. Sam would wait for the moment his mother was distracted. He would take her phone and check recent messages, calls, any evidence of what Linda was planning. He would take screenshots and send them to me. It sounded easy, but asking a grandson to spy on his own mother was something that broke my soul. Grandma, Sam had told me on the phone, it's no longer just your fight. Sarah and I live in that house. We see how Mom manipulates, lies, destroys. If we can help you stop her, we will. And 3 days later, the screenshots arrived. My phone vibrated at 11 at night. It was Sam. Grandma, I found this. Sorry for taking so long, but I needed to be sure. I opened the images one by one and felt my blood run cold. Messages from Linda with an unknown number. How much do you charge to testify that the old lady was confused when she signed? $5,000. Half now, half after the trial. Deal. Do you know the family well? You'll say she was always forgetful, acting weird. There was more. Conversations with other people. Linda was building a complete web of lies. A message with Michael said, "Your mom humiliated us. It's time to strike back. With 3 witnesses declaring her mental incompetence, we can annul everything." Michael's answer, "I don't know, Linda. This can go wrong. Do you prefer to lose millions or grow a pair and recover what is ours?" Michael did not respond further, but he did not stop her either. I saved all the screenshots. I forwarded them to Mr. Davis along with a message. "The evidence we needed," he replied in 5 minutes. "This is enough for criminal charges. Do you want to proceed?" I sat in front of the fireplace with a cup of tea in my hands. The fire danced in front of me, casting shadows on the walls. Did I want to send the mother of my grandkids to jail? I thought of Sam and Sarah, of how they would suffer if their mother faced criminal charges. But I also thought of all the women Linda had hurt with her manipulation, of how she would keep hurting if no one stopped her. "Proceed," I wrote finally, but with one condition. Which one? I want to confront her first, face to face, give her one last chance to confess and retract. "Ma'am, that can be dangerous." "I know, but I need to do it." The lawyer agreed reluctantly. We organized everything for the following Friday. That morning, Linda received an official citation. She had to appear at the cabin with her lawyer to discuss irregularities in the compliance of the agreement. She arrived at 2 in the afternoon with a young, nervous lawyer who clearly did not know what he was getting into. Linda wore high heels, a tailored suit, hair perfectly styled, battle armor. "This is ridiculous," she said as soon as she entered, without saying hello. "I do not have to be here. The agreement is legal." "Sit down, Mrs. Parker," said Mr. Davis with a formal tone. She sat with a defiant attitude. Her lawyer placed his briefcase on the table. Officer Miller was also present, and the same camera woman as before. "More theater?" Linda mocked. "Cameras again? Do you feel powerful, mother-in-law?" I did not answer. I just took out my phone. "Before we start," I said calmly, "I want to show you something." I slid the phone across the table. On the screen were the screenshots of her messages. Linda looked at them. Her face went from arrogance to confusion, then to pure panic. "Where did you get that?" "It does not matter where. It matters what it says." Her lawyer took the phone and read. His expression changed immediately. "Mrs. Parker," he said with a tense voice, "did you write these messages?" Linda did not answer. "I am asking you officially. Did you attempt to bribe witnesses to commit perjury?" Silence. Mr. Davis intervened. "Mrs. Linda Parker, these messages constitute evidence of conspiracy to commit procedural fraud, bribery, and attempted obstruction of justice. These are serious crimes that can result in prison from 5 to 10 years. Linda went pale. I just what? I asked. Just tried to destroy me again? Just looked for more ways to steal, lie, manipulate? You had no right to humiliate us like that. All this is your fault. My fault? My fault that you have a gambling addiction? My fault that you indebted your family? My fault that you planned to declare me incompetent to steal my properties? We had needs. We had rights. You had no right over my life nor my money." Her lawyer closed his briefcase. "Mrs. Parker, I cannot represent you in this. I am sorry." He got up and left without looking back. Linda was left alone, trembling. "I have 2 options for you," I said, taking back my phone. "Option 1, I present these messages formally. The district attorney proceeds with charges. You go to trial and probably to prison." She sobbed. "Option 2, you sign a full confession, admit everything you did, accept permanent restraining order from me, not just 3 years, and enter a rehabilitation program for gambling addiction. Paid by you. And Michael? She asked with a broken voice. Michael has his own path. But he did not attempt to bribe witnesses. You did. What about my children? Sam and Sarah can visit me whenever they want. But you will have no contact with me ever again. That is cruel. No. Cruel was what you did to me for years. Mr. Davis placed a document in front of her. You have 5 minutes to decide. Linda read the document with tears running down her face. It was a full confession. Every lie, every manipulation, every plan to destroy me. If I sign this, I do not go to jail. If you fulfill everything agreed, therapy, restraining order, payments. No. She took the pen with a trembling hand. She signed. But before leaving, she looked at me with pure hate. Someday you are going to die alone, bitter old woman, and no one is going to cry for you. I smiled sadly. I prefer to die alone with dignity than to live surrounded by vipers. She left slamming the door. Officer Miller put away the signed confession. Mrs. Parker, officially, this closes the case. Unless she breaches. Thank you, officer. When everyone left, I remained seated in the silence of the cabin. I had won, legally, emotionally, but I did not feel victory. I felt exhaustion of years, of battles, of being strong when I just wanted to be a mother. That night, I called Sam. Grandma? How did it go? It went well, my love. Your mom signed a confession. She will not go to prison if she fulfills the conditions. And Dad? Your dad has until tomorrow to make his first payment. If he does not do it, there will also be consequences. There was silence. Grandma, is all this worth it? So much pain? I looked at the flames in the fireplace. Yes, Sam, because for the first time in my life, I am worth more than my money. I am worth more than what I can give. I simply am worth. And that lesson, although painful, was the most important one I could teach him. February 1st arrived, payday. I woke up early with a knot in my stomach. I checked my phone every 5 minutes waiting for the bank notification. At 8 in the morning, the first transfer came in. $2,000, Daniel, punctual again. I felt a flash of pride. My youngest son was complying. At 9, nothing from Michael. At 10, nothing. At noon, I called Mr. Davis. Michael has not paid. I know. I already tried to contact him. He does not answer calls. What do we do? The agreement is clear. If he misses the first payment, criminal charges are automatically reactivated. But you have the final say. I hung up and stared out the window. The pine trees swayed with the cold February wind. Michael, my oldest son, the one born first, the one who made me a mother. Was I really going to send him to face charges? My phone rang. It was Sam. Grandma, I need to talk to you. Tell me, my love. It is about Dad. He is bad. Very bad. Bad how? Yesterday, his company went bankrupt. Creditors took everything. The office, the vehicles, even the computers. The sheriffs arrived and took everything. I felt a weight in my chest. And that is not the worst, continued Sam with a broken voice. Mom left him. She said she was not going to sync with him. And you guys? Sarah? We stayed with Dad. Someone has to be here. But Grandma, I have never seen him like this. He is on the sofa, without showering, without eating. He just stares at the ceiling. He does not speak. I closed my eyes. Pain, rage, sadness, all mixed. Where are you now? In the house. But a notification came from the bank. They are 2 months behind on the mortgage. They are going to lose the house, too. Sam, listen to me well. You and Sarah can come stay with me. Always. This cabin is your refuge. And Dad? That was the question. The question I had been avoiding. Your dad has to hit rock bottom. Completely. It is the only way he will learn. Grandma, he already hit rock bottom. He already lost everything. Not everything. He still has you. Sam sobbed on the other end. I do not know what to do. Come tomorrow. The three of you. Your dad too. Seriously? Seriously. But under my conditions. I hung up and called Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, do not reactivate the charges. Yet. Ma'am, give me 3 days. Just 3 days. Okay. But after that, legally, I must proceed. The next day, Michael arrived with his children. He got out of a borrowed car with wrinkled clothes, days-old beard, deep circles under his eyes. He was not the arrogant man who had arrived weeks ago. He was a ghost. Sam and Sarah entered first. Michael stayed outside, as if he did not deserve to enter. "Come in," I said from the door. He entered slowly, without looking me in the eyes. "Sit down." He sat on the sofa. The kids went to the kitchen, giving me space. I made coffee. I served him a cup. He held it with trembling hands, but did not drink. "I lost everything," he said finally with a hollow voice. "The company, the savings, the house, my wife, everything. And now what? I do not know. Honestly, I do not know. Are you going to blame me?" He looked up for the first time. His eyes were red, empty. "No, I can no longer blame anyone else. It was my fault. Everything was my fault. It was the first time I heard him admit it without excuses." "Do you know what your biggest mistake was, Michael? Trying to rob you? No. Your mistake was believing that money made you somebody, that having more gave you value, that owning things was the same as being someone." He lowered his head. "Your dad taught you to work hard. I taught you to be honest. But at some point you decided those lessons did not matter, that there were shortcuts. I am sorry, Mom. I know it is not enough, but I am sorry. It is not enough. But it is a start." He drank a sip of coffee. He was trembling. "I have no way to pay you. I have nothing. I know. So what do? Do I go to jail?" I took a deep breath. This was the decision I had been postponing. "I have a different proposal." "Which one?" "I forgive the entire debt, the $40,000. You do not have to pay me." Michael raised his head abruptly, confused. "What?" "But with conditions." "What conditions?" "First, you come live here, at the cabin, with me, you and the kids." "What?" "Second, you work. There is a lumber yard half an hour from here. The owner knows your dad. I called him. He will give you a job. Physical work, hard, low paying." Michael blinked, processing. "Third, you go to therapy. Every week, without exceptions." "And for how long?" 1 year. You live here, you work, you go to therapy, you save every dollar. At the end of the year, if you fulfill everything, I help you start over. A small investment for an honest business. Small, humble. I do not understand. Why would you do this? I got up and walked to the window. Because I am still your mother, and mothers do not abandon, even if their children abandon them. Michael broke down. He cried like he hadn't cried since he was a child. Deep, heart-wrenching sobs. Years of arrogance falling away. Sam and Sarah came out of the kitchen and hugged him. "Dad," said Sarah, crying, "everything is going to be okay." "I do not deserve this," Michael sobbed. "I do not deserve your forgiveness." "You are right. You do not deserve it. But I give it to you anyway, because that is real love. Not by merit, by grace." That night, we had dinner together in the cabin. Hot soup, fresh baked bread, steaming hot chocolate. Michael ate in silence, still processing everything. Sam and Sarah helped wash the dishes. When the kids went to sleep in the guest room, Michael and I stayed in front of the fireplace. "Mom," he said softly, "how can you forgive me after everything I did? I did not say I forgave you completely. I said I give you a chance. What is the difference? Forgiveness is earned with time and actions. Opportunity only requires you to show up, every day, to try. And if I fail, then you will fail. But at least you tried." Michael looked at the fire. "Does Daniel know about this?" "I will call him tomorrow. He is fulfilling his part. You must fulfill yours, too." "And Linda?" Linda took her path. She signed permanent restraining order. She is in a rehab center for gambling addiction. If she completes it, maybe she can rebuild something with you guys. But that no longer depends on me." Michael nodded. "There is something else you should know," I added. "What?" "The will remains the same. You will not receive an inheritance. Everything goes to the foundation and the kids' trust. I understand. I expect nothing." "Good. Because this is not about money. It is about becoming the people our loved ones deserved us to be." And that night, for the first time in years, I slept knowing that maybe, just maybe, my son could find his way back to himself. A year passed, 12 months of transformation, of pain, of growth. Michael fulfilled every condition, every single one. He worked at the lumber yard from 6 in the morning. He came home with rough hands, aching back, bruised pride, but intact dignity. The first months were terrible. I heard him cry in his room some nights. 42-year-old man used to suits and offices, now carrying logs and operating heavy machinery. But he did not quit. Every Thursday he went to therapy with the psychologist in town. He returned quiet, reflective, processing layers of his own darkness. Sam and Sarah finished the school year living in the cabin. They adapted well, better than well. They blossomed away from the toxic environment of their previous home. Sarah got the best grades of her life. Sam discovered he liked working with wood and started learning carpentry at the lumber yard on weekends. Daniel made every payment, all 60, without missing a single one. In March, he called me crying. "Mom, I made the last deposit. The $60,000 complete. With interest. I am proud of you. I never thought I could do it. But David helped me. He kept me focused. He made me believe I could be better. He is good for you. I know. That is why I proposed to him." And he said yes. My heart filled with joy. "When?" "In 2 months. And we want you to be the one to marry us." "Well, give a blessing. Be part of everything. I will be there." Linda completed her rehab program. 6 months committed. She came out different, thinner, more serious, without the manic shine in her eyes. She called me in September. "Mrs. Parker, I know I signed permanent restraining order, but I wanted to call to ask for forgiveness. For real, without manipulation, without an agenda. What did you learn, Linda?" There was a long pause. "That addiction controlled me for years, that I used everyone around me as resources, that I destroyed my own family for a void I could never fill with money or emotions. And now I am learning to live with myself, to not need the adrenaline of the game, to face my problems head on. I am glad to hear it. Will you ever be able to forgive me? Someday. Maybe, but that day is not today. I understand. Thank you for not sending me to jail, for giving me this opportunity." She hung up. I did not know if I would hear from her again, and that was okay. In November came the first Christmas since everything exploded. Sam and Sarah decorated the cabin with lights and ornaments. We put a small tree near the fireplace. Daniel and David arrived 2 days before. They brought gifts, food, laughter. Michael cooked dinner, roast turkey, mashed potatoes, salad, hot cider. He made it all with his own hands. On the night of December 24th, we all sat around the table. Michael, Daniel, David, Sam, Sarah, and me. "I would like to say something," Michael began, standing up. We all looked at him. "A year ago, I was another person, a horrible person, arrogant, manipulative, willing to destroy my own mother for money." His voice broke. Daniel put a hand on his shoulder. "This year taught me that hitting rock bottom is painful, but necessary. I lost everything material, but I found something I had forgotten, my humanity." He looked at his children, Sam, Sarah. "Sorry for not being the father you deserved, for prioritizing appearances over real love." They both were crying. Daniel. "Sorry for dragging you into my plans, for contaminating you with my sick ambition." Daniel nodded, wiping his tears. "And Mom." Michael looked directly at me. Sorry for forgetting who you were, for seeing you as a resource and not as the extraordinary woman who gave me life, raised me, loved me even when I did not deserve it. He knelt in front of me. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but if someday you can give it to me, I will spend the rest of my life trying to honor it. I took his face in my hands. I looked him in the eyes. Michael, I forgive you. He cried like a child in my arms. After dinner, while the others washed dishes and sang carols, I went out to the porch. The sky was clear. The stars shone like diamonds over the snowy pines. Daniel came out behind me with 2 cups of hot chocolate. Mom, what are you thinking about? About your dad, about how much I miss him still. He would be proud of you, of how you handled all this. You think? I know. Dad always said you were the strongest woman he knew. Now I understand why. We drank our chocolate in comfortable silence. Daniel, are you happy? Yes, Mom. For the first time in my life, I am genuinely happy. I have debts, I work 2 jobs, I live in a small apartment, but I have David. I have peace. I have dignity. Then you are rich. He smiled. Yes, I guess I am. The following days were magical. We walked through the forest, played board games, told stories, laughed. On January 1st, while everyone slept, I opened my diary. I had started writing a year ago, documenting everything. The betrayal, the pain, the fight, the redemption. I wrote the last entry. Today, I am 68 years old. I am no longer the woman who expected crumbs of love from her children. I am no longer the mother who let herself be used for fear of loneliness. I lost a family, but I gained something more valuable. I recovered myself. Michael is learning to be a real man. Daniel found his way. Linda is healing. Sam and Sarah grow in an environment of genuine love. And I finally understood that dignified solitude beats humiliating company. The cabin everyone despised became our refuge, the place where a broken family learned to rebuild itself, not with money, with truth, with consequences, with tough love, but real. My foundation for older women will open in March. We will help others like me find their voice, their strength, their dignity. Because no one should wait until 67 years old to learn that they are worth who they are, not what they can give. I closed the diary. I looked out the window. The sun was coming out behind the mountains, painting the sky orange and pink. A new year, a new life. Sam came out of his room, sleepy. Grandma, are you awake? I could not sleep. I was thinking. About what? That sometimes losing everything is the only way to gain what really matters. He hugged me tight. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, my love. Michael made coffee. Daniel made pancakes. David put on music. Sarah danced in the kitchen, and I, sitting at my table, watched them. My family, broken, imperfect, rebuilding itself, but real, finally real. Because true wealth is not in what you possess, but in what you do not allow them to take away. Your dignity, your peace, your self-love. And that no one will ever take from me again. If this story touched your heart, if you ever felt used, forgotten, or undervalued, leave me your comment. Tell me where you are watching us from and what lesson you take from Emily's story. Like if you believe it is never too late to recover your dignity. And subscribe to the channel Elderly Stories for more real-life stories of brave women who learn to put themselves first without guilt, because we all deserve love. But first, we must learn to love ourselves. Thank you for accompanying me to the end. Until the next story.